Welcome back to Main Street Living. Music is something that I think we all love. It's a universal language that can bring people together no matter where they are from or what their backgrounds might be.
Absolutely. And music also helps define our unique cultures. And you can learn a lot about a place and its people by listening to its music. Dr. Jeff Nevin is here to talk about one very distinctive genre of music, mariachi. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for making some time for us.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me.
So, of course, some people have come into contact with the mariachi, perhaps at a Mexican restaurant when they're serenading those unsuspecting patrons. But we know there's a lot more to it than that. So, how would you describe what mariachi is?
So mariachi, actually, I teach a class in mariachi history, so I hope you have at least 3 or 4 hours for me to explain the whole thing to you. But mariachi music is a folk music that grew out of Western Mexico and has roots actually going back to the Spanish Renaissance, to African music, and to indigenous Mexican music when they all came together about 500 years ago. They evolved over time, and nobody knows exactly when it came about. But some of those folk musicians moved to Mexico City in the early 20th century, began to record, began to appear in movies, and the professional composers, professional singers, the actors who are also singers began to appear in movies with mariachis behind them. So they dressed the mariachis up in fancy clothes and they made bigger groups and they expanded the repertoire. So the modern mariachi that we know is really only about 70 or 80 years old, but the roots absolutely go back 500 years or more. So in that sense, it's very similar to jazz music that has roots that go way, way, way back. But really the first jazz music was composed in the early 20th century, and mariachi is very much like that.
Dr. Jeff, you were talking about the history. Can you give us a little bit more history about the mariachi?
I told you I got hours, so I can.
Careful what you ask for, Q.
But so it is a combination of the, as I said, the indigenous Mexican music. There are a lot of African rhythms that are present in the traditional mariachi music. That's something that's actually stated but not really appreciated. I just wrote an article last year focusing on the connection between the sones, which is a specific type of traditional dance that is present all over Latin America, but it's very, very popular in the pueblos, in the small town in Mexico where they play sones, and the rhythms that they have in the sones are very closely related to some African drumming. And then, of course, the Spanish Renaissance music. You know, one thing that was very interesting to me when I started studying about this, in this continent, in the Americas, they almost had no instruments, musical instruments that use strings. Okay, so they had drums, and they had, you've seen like a conch shell that you play, and you can play. They have different kinds of flutes that are shaped like little animals or different things. They had a lot of different musical instruments that they used, but none of them had strings. So anytime you see like a Mexican guy playing a guitar, or you see somebody playing a harp, or you see somebody playing a violin, those are instruments that were very popular in Europe in the Renaissance. So you see the Renaissance paintings where you see people sitting around with these funny instruments. Well, some of those instruments are exactly what we're playing in the mariachi. And then, so again, that's the history. The modern mariachi really took place in Mexico City, where professional composers, there's a movie and a famous singer is going to sing, we're going to have a mariachi. I'm going to compose a brand new song today that they're going to be performing in the movie next week. So the musicians had to learn to read. They had to learn how to play different kinds of songs. They were playing brand new repertoire. Now you ask somebody, hey, what's your favorite mariachi song? People start saying there's hundreds of songs that people know, but most of those songs were composed since the 1940s.
Wow. So cool. So obviously we know that you teach at Southwestern College, and something very cool has happened there because they began offering the world's first college degree in mariachi music in 2004. Why is it so important to kind of separate mariachi from the other musical traditions?
Well, that's an interesting question. Part of so I was invited by the president of the college at that time was Serafin Sassueta, and the president of Sweetwater Union High School District, which is the district that leads into Southwestern College, named Bob Griego. And they had an idea to use mariachi music in schools to help bring the kids into the school, to bring their families into the school, and to make the schools better reflect the communities that they have. I talked to Dr. Sassueta. He said, we want to put mariachi in my school. He said, I went to Tucson and I saw this big conference and all these kids. I want to have a degree in mariachi music at my school, just like they have in all of those other schools. And I said, no, there's no such thing as a degree in mariachi music anywhere in the world, much less in Mexico, because in Mexico is where the music comes from. But there, it really was something that's passed down through generations, and you learn it from your uncle, or you learn it from people get together and learn it. They didn't teach it in schools. Right now in the United States, many people, really over the last 30 years, have been putting more money actually in schools all around the United States. So we need teachers, which means that we need people with mariachi experience and uh, credential, specific academic credentials to be able to be a teacher in public schools. So we're actually trying to bring them together. It's not so much why are we separating it from the other music. No. We're trying to bring mariachi in to the academic field so that mariachi teachers are also trained professional musicians in that sense.
Yeah, and that makes absolute sense. I mean, it's clear that the program is very popular. Now, coming up in a few days, you're going to be holding the Mariachi Summit. So what is planned for that event?
We bring together the most important mariachi musicians from all over the world, and we come here, we teach the kids how to play, we teach them technique, we teach them how to read, we teach them new songs, so repertoire, not brand new songs, but traditional repertoire, so that they're learning from this tradition. Then the Mariachi Scholarship Foundation, that's I'm the president of the foundation, we raise money through this summit and then give that money out in college scholarships to the mariachi students when they graduate.
Well, we know also another way that people can find out about it is the very special concert on July 16th at San Diego's downtown Civic Center, or excuse me, Civic Theater. What's so exciting about this event, and how can viewers find more information about this and the program?
Okay, so I mentioned the Mariachi Scholarship Foundation. This is our biggest fundraiser that we have, is a huge concert. It's a gala concert that we have. And again, in the past, we've brought all the biggest mariachis, the most famous mariachis. This year, we actually received a donation from a good friend of ours named Ed Marsh, who's a mariachi lover and has been collecting things his whole life. And then he donated his collection to us. And we're debuting that at the summit in a couple of weeks. And then it occurred to me, I was reaching out to people. I said, well, we need something from these famous singers, or we need something from these mariachis. And so I've been talking to the family members of the people who were the famous stars back in the 1940s and 1950s. And then I realized a lot of them sing too. So I said, why don't we invite them to be on the concert? So we have Lupita Infante, who's Pedro Infante's granddaughter, and Pedro Infante is one of the biggest movie stars. If you're not aware, it's like John Wayne or Frank Sinatra. Like these names are just iconic, and people still love them today, even though they have been around for a while. Rafael Jorge Negrete is Jorge Negrete's grandson. We have Gabriel Solis, who's Javier Solis' son. We have Miguel Aceves Mejia, who has the same name as his dad. We've got Jose Alfredo Jimenez Medel, who is Jose Alfredo Jimenez's son. So it's amazing, and they're each going to come and participate in this. So the concert's going to be, it's a celebration of this whole history by bringing in, the legacy, the heirs of the legacy of the most famous people. And trust me, if you don't know those names, it's like I just named like people are like, oh my God, you have him. And for the museum, I have Jorge Negrete's traje, one of his suits, right back here in my house. My friend just brought Javier Solis' sombrero that he has, and we have pictures like he's there and he's holding this hat, and that's the hat that we have. So his son, when he sings, is going to be wearing his dad's hat on that concert. So it's going to be a really great thing, and for a very good cause, as I just said.
Perfect.
Oh, perfect. Dr. Nevin, we can see how passionate you are about this, and we just thank you so much for joining us, of course. And so cool, a mariachi major. Those are the kids that's the party I want to go to, the mariachi major party for sure.
All right. Well, after the concert, I told you we're having a party at my house after the concert, so you're invited.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Well, so much information to learn that I've learned now. I feel like I've gotten a chance to know something that I didn't know before, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, it's time to get to know our neighbors. That's so tough for me.